All right. We again want to be respectful of everybody's time. So we are going to get started. So I just want to say happy Monday before break, everybody. We will make it through this week and then we will get our relaxation, hopefully. So thank you everyone for joining us today.
Happy
Um,
Valentine's Day.
yeah, oh yes, happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
We have one more person just coming in, Parker.
Right.
Let's wait for her audio to get connected and then I'll share my screen. All right, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to stop sharing for a second here. I want to get my right window. There we go. All right. So today we're going to focus on digital literacy. And this is probably the concept area that you are most familiar with because it's one that we've been talking about for numerous years with digital citizenship and the uses of using technology for student creation and for learning.
And honestly, it's also probably the one that's the easiest to implement and the easiest for you to add to any other content area.
Right. I mean, I believe like in most of the ones that we created and shared with you, that DL standard was added to that as one of the additional concept area standards. So on a scale of Baby Yoda, how are you feeling today? And we probably should have done a Valentine's theme, but
We should also call him Groku. Just saying.
that is his real name.
That's his actual name.
Yeah.
Just trying to throw that out there. Got some sleepy.
Yeah. One thing, he is darn cute.
Yes. I would say I'm probably that 4 a little bit too. Break definitely can't come soon enough. So I definitely agree with all those 4s.
My son owns a pizzeria, so I was very busy yesterday helping with the hundreds of pizza orders and wing orders that we processed yesterday. It was a little insane.
I just let Ellen in.
Okay.
Oh, Karen, I like that at 2. Very nice.
I'm not sure what 8 represents myself. All right, looks like everybody participated in that. So today's learning targets, I can integrate digital literacy standards into plugged and unplugged activities, and I can align digital literacy standards to Bloom's taxonomy. We're going to be going through that same process where we've created a lesson and we've also created the rationale. We have a little bit different group activity for you around these standards when we put you into breakout rooms. So we'll have you interact with those. Just a few updates. Remember, if you have missed any of the webinars and want to view the recorded webinar, they're listed in Frontline where you registered for today's event. And there's all the directions for you to click on it, watch the recording, and fill out a little bit of information to submit for CTLE credit as well as your stipend. So viewing the recorded option will give you the stipend as well. So just make sure that if you're going to do any of those, you do it by March 18th, because we have to submit items for the grant to the state by the end of March. So we need time to process any attendance and stipends in order to meet that deadline. Another thing is that you are going to be submitting 2 lessons aligned on your portfolio by March 18th. And you will receive a $150 stipend. And then you'll submit the rest of your portfolio by the end of May, and you'll receive an additional $100 stipend. So all told, you'll get $250 for the submission of the portfolio. We will communicate to you. We have a form that you're going to be putting the link to your folder to submit to us for review. And by submitting to that, we'll have the data to share to give you your stipend. And then for us to start reviewing those 2 lessons in order to have everything completed. We have to have all the reviews done by like the 2nd week of June for our evaluator. So just making sure that we have a timeline for everybody, as well as for stipends, and as well for us to get them reviewed in time for our evaluator. Any questions on the portfolio submission?
And then just a reminder also for everyone, today is this is the last webinar we're using in this format. A reminder that the webinars for March are optional webinars where they're more like open office hours, where you can just come in, ask us some of your questions. We can take a look at your portfolios for you, take a look at some of your artifacts, take a look at some of your lessons, whatever questions you have to kind of help you as you get closer to submitting at least the first 2 lessons that we want you to submit by March. So we will, correct me if I'm wrong, Doreen, we're going to be offering for the first 3 weeks in March, 2 a week for 3 hours. But again, you're not coming in for 3 hours unless you want to. You're more than welcome. But it's going to be just office hours where Doreen and I are in there. You pop in, ask us some questions, and then we will help you the best that we can to get your portfolio up and running.
In our follow-up email, I'll put all that information as well as the portfolio information in there like I did last month, just so that you have access to that, and just as a reminder. Any questions about our updates? Okay, so as a reminder, the concept area is digital literacy. It is a multifaceted concept that extends beyond skill-based activities and incorporates both cognitive and technical skills. It refers to the ability to leverage computer technology to appropriately access digital information, to create, share, and modify artifacts, and to interact and collaborate with others. Digital literacy includes understanding the benefits and implications of using digital technologies to be successful in our contemporary world. So thinking about closures and hybrid learning, this is one that we were doing all the time. This is one that we were doing without even realizing what we were doing was aligned to this concept area for these standards. So it's one that you do frequently if you're sharing an Office 365 document or a Google Doc and having students collaborate within there, you're hitting one of the digital literacy standards.
Or even just having students use different tools. Most of our classrooms, students are using a book creator for this. Students are using, if you're using an iPad, students are using the photo app, and then they're taking the photo app or they're taking pictures from PicCollage, and then they're putting that into Book Creator. Well, that is combining different tools anyway. So that's also your digital literacy, being able to use different tools to modify artifacts and to show what you're learning.
All right, so one of the sub-concept areas is digital use. So for digital use, it's digital technologies are part of everyday life. A variety of digital tools exist to create, revise, and publish digital artifacts, as well as communicate and collaborate with others. For digital citizenship focuses on empowering learners to use online resources, application, and spaces to improve communities, make their voice heard, and curate a positive and effective digital footprint. It encourages students to engage respectfully online with people with different beliefs and better determining of validity of online sources of information. So digital citizenship, I think that's something that we've really been talking to our students about, maybe not in your particular class, but maybe in computer lab or the library or somewhere for quite a few years. This has been on the radar for our learners.
Even a lot of districts have digital, especially in our area, have digital literacy, digital citizenship weeks or days, even maybe once at the beginning of the year. They're doing Digital Citizenship Day where people are expected to teach a digital citizenship lesson. Doreen and I, for years, have always said, I like that they're doing that. However, we want to go away from having a digital citizenship day and to be able to just incorporate digital citizenship into our daily lessons, into our activities on a regular basis. So it's just not, well, one day we're talking about digital citizenship. It's something we need to be talking about constantly, or not just in computer lab, or not just in library. So I'm very happy that they added this to the digital fluency, computer science and digital fluency standards, just because we needed to be incorporated more into the general classroom, as opposed to just one day or in one subject area.
So I'm going to access the lesson. Parker, would you mind sharing your screen, or do you have it pulled up?
No, give me one sec. I can pull it up. I'm working off one screen, so it's
Oh, sorry. I can do it. That's all right.
okay. Apparently, when I get rid of one of my screens, I don't know what to do anything.
Okay.
All right, so we have our lesson for today. Again, as the webinars have gone on, we haven't just sat there and read to you guys the full lesson plan, because we know you guys are able to do that and you're going to have time to do that in your small breakout rooms. But I'm just going to quickly just kind of give you the gist of the lesson plan as we go through it. So this is a 4th grade lesson. It's a science lesson about the transfer of energy. So it's important to know, as we're doing this lesson was created to take 2 days, to either 40 to 60-minute sessions. Obviously, we always guesstimate on those things. Some classrooms has 40 minutes. Some classrooms might have an hour to do this type of activity. Some might have 50 minutes. Some might have 30. So when it comes to the time frame, obviously, this is just a guesstimate, and this is what I've done with my classrooms when I've done a lesson similar to this. So the learning objectives are basically, students will work with various materials to make the observation that energy can be transferred from place to place. And then using batteries, bulbs, wires, and Play-Doh, students will demonstrate how energy can be transferred from one object to another. So basically, this lesson is basically a simple circuits lesson, where students will be given the materials, a light bulb, a battery, Play-Doh and the wires to actually create a simple circuit. The I can statements are right there. I can work with my group and use given materials to build a circuit. I can document my process and create an artifact to share with the class. And I can make the observation that energy can be transferred from place to place. So this activity also, I say I can document my process and create an artifact to share with the class. In this activity, students have virtual e-science notebooks where they're putting their information in. And so that is what I'm talking about, where they're documenting their process on that. And then they'll be sharing pages with the class when they're sharing their work. The typical, some of the things we're doing to help students with disabilities and ELL students are, we're pre-teaching the vocabulary, we're using picture vocabulary, and we're providing copies of the notes for the students. Content standard, all the next gen science standard, 4th grade. So we have that right there. And the meat and potatoes for us, for the purpose of today's webinar, is the New York Computer Science and Digital Fluency Standards. So we are doing, this is a 4th grade lesson. So this is the 4th through 6th grade band. The digital literacy, the 2nd standard, select appropriate digital tools to communicate and collaborate while learning with others. We have standard 3, which is conduct and refine advanced multi-criteria digital searches to locate content relevant to varied learning goals. Sorry, a space in the page really broke me for a second. And then digital, and then standard 4, use a variety of digital tools and resources to create and revise digital artifacts. So it's hitting all 3 of those goals. We have our SEL benchmarks in here already, and then we have our instructional plan. So you're going to notice within this instructional plan, we have highlighted at the top that students have been learning about the transfer of energy and have the previous knowledge of instructional technology tools in order to complete the following activities. So this is not just the beginning unit of it. This is a lesson that's in the middle of a unit, which is 100% fine. Again, you guys can pull whatever lessons that fit these, and it doesn't have to be a full unit, and it doesn't have to be the beginning of the unit or the end of the unit. There's a lot of time happening between the beginning of a unit and the end of the unit. So this is just one of those lessons. I used a different format for this lesson. I used the engage, explore, explain type format. Again, you guys are able to use whatever format for your lesson plans that work for you. You're going to notice that what we did was for the activity, the pieces of the activities that hit the specific standards, we put the standards in parentheses next to that activity, and we just highlighted it. Again, this is what we recommend you guys do when you are using your lesson plans for your portfolio, because this will help me and Doreen be able to see how you actually hit the standards with certain activities. So again, this is our recommendation of how you can't see my mouse circling things, but this is the recommendation that we have for, thank you, Doreen. This is the recommendation we have for you guys to show us that you're hitting the standards with certain activities. So I'm not going to read this activity for you. We're going to let you guys have time to read it in your groups, but we have the instructional plan here. And then we have our background knowledge and our instructional technology integration pieces. Any questions from just what you looked at so far? Again, we're going to put you guys in breakout rooms, and you're going to have time to actually dive into the lesson and take a look at it. All right. And what we're going to have you guys do before you go into breakout rooms, what we're going to have you guys do for the activity today is we're actually going to have you guys write a rationale. So we've had, this is the 6th webinar, right, Doreen? The 6th webinar that we've done with you guys, and we've written all the rationales. We still wrote a rationale for this lesson for one of the standards, but we want you guys to look at standard 4.6.dl.2 and to be able to write what you think a rationale would be from this lesson. Again, I know this is not your lesson. We know that you didn't teach this lesson. We just want you guys to do a little practice on trying to write a rationale the best that you can. So that is our standard that you guys will be doing.
I'm going to pop it in there so they don't have to look it up.
And again, this is just practice to help you guys kind of as a group come together and write a rationale. We thought that would be a nice different activity than just giving us an elevator pitch and looking at some of the same stuff.
All right, so we're going to pop the share link in the chat.
Do you want me to pop the lesson plan link?
Yes. So
Okay.
I'm putting in the link for this document in there. So everybody just click on it so you have access to it. And within your groups, you'll have a note taker and then somebody to present out when we join back together. And then Parker's going to add the link to the lesson. So you'll have access to that as well.
Right. And this is the lesson link underneath Doreen's link.
All right, so I'm going to open up the breakout rooms. You're going to get about 12 minutes to do this as a group, and then we'll come back and you can share your ideas. Any questions before we move to the breakout rooms?
And right before you guys get started, sorry, Dorian, before you guys get started, again, we can't say this enough. This is not to say your rationale will be right or wrong. This is just to give you practice of writing a rationale.
All right, so I'm opening the rooms.
So we are just, oh, Dorian, please remember to hit
I
record.
got it, thanks.
So welcome back, everybody. We're just gonna go group by group to talk, for you to talk about and read out your thoughts and your rationale. And again, I can't say it enough. This is not your rationale's right, your rationale's wrong. This is just to help you work on coming up with a rationale and writing it. All right, so breakout group number 1, if you could read your rationale.
Okay, I said, we wrote this lesson provides students with options within Book Creator to use digital tools to take notes, collaborate, and communicate with one another, document evidence of their process through photos and videos, and reflect and revise on their systems. Students create an authentic resource to demonstrate their process.
Nice. What I like that you took words that were in the standard into your rationale. That is 100% something we encourage you to do. You used collaborate, use communicate. That is exactly what we would recommend for almost every rationale you write, is taking things, the verbiage from the actual standard and putting that into your rationale. So nice job.
All right, let's go to number 2.
We said by the end of this lesson, students will collaboratively use Book Creator, document their learning about simple circuits. They will explain their process, circuit design, and make modifications to it. Students will then present their design to the class.
Love it. I love that you guys actually took the format of the learning targets sheet that we gave you guys to write this rationale. Again, another thing we can't recommend enough for you guys to be able to use that. So thank you. Awesome.
All right, we're group 3. And I cut and pasted directly from the lesson just so that I could have it there in front of us while we were typing. So that was the Times New Roman font is from the lesson, and then underneath there is the rationale. And because 4 through 6 DL2 just says select appropriate digital tools to communicate and collaborate while learning with others, that's what we said. Students have been assigned a digital tool to use to authentically communicate with one another about their learning. I thought authentically was important. That came directly from the clarifying statement under digital literacy.
Awesome. And that is a great example of short, sweet, and to the point of what it is, because that does show us that you know how it connects, how the standard connects to your lesson. So good job. Again, we can't say enough. I keep saying I can't say enough because we just really, there are certain things we want to hit home with you guys. It's using that learning target on template to help you, using verbiage from the standard, but also you don't have to write a book. We don't want to add any stress on you guys, and you don't have to sit there and write, your thesis statement on these standards for each rationale. That will take you forever. We really appreciate, putting it together so you show us that you know how the standards connect and align. So very nice. Good job, guys. Group 4.
Hi, it's we just kind of pretty much said what everyone else said in this lesson. Students use Book Creator to document their learning of electrical circuits, also to process how they are made, reflect, and make changes if needed. So I wasn't sure if you need anything more than that.
No,
Okay.
yeah, no, it is good.
Okay. That's it.
And I like how a few of you have pulled in actually like what the curricular purpose, right? The electrical circuit. So that's a nice addition to the rationale.
Yeah, and again, one benefit that you guys have with writing your rationales right now is that Doreen and I are the ones who are grading it. So we also know you guys, and we know we have a better idea of your classrooms and where you guys are coming from. But we do like it when you write your rationale like there's an independent person reading these, so they can see your connection and how you implement it. So putting exactly the tool like most of you did, putting the content area within the alignment is actually very helpful. We definitely encourage that too. All right, group 5.
So we said to get students used to the idea of digitally communicating and collaborating with others appropriately in the classroom or virtually. In this lesson, Book Creator is used as a collaborative digital tool.
Yeah, very, very good. These are, I have to say, guys, these are very good rationales. These are definitely rationales that Doreen and I, if we look at that with the standards, and if this was your lesson plan, we would see through your explanation how it connects. So nice job, everyone. Any thoughts, Doreen?
No, I think you're right. I think that it shows understanding of the standard, and you didn't write the lesson, so you don't have
Right.
that relationship with the lesson that we did because we created it, but you were able to get the gist of how we aligned the standard.
So obviously we went back and we also wrote a rationale.
Hope I'm not getting anybody dizzy, sorry.
I know it took me a second. Sorry.
There we go.
We wrote the rationale. So the rationale that we wrote was for standard 4. So use a variety of digital tools and resources to create and revise digital artifacts. Now, where I have, I followed the format that Doreen and I have been following the entire time we write these rationales. Is we have our little rationale, but then I also use the learning target template to create part of my rationale. So this artifact meets the standard as students will combine the technology tools of their iPad camera and Book Creator to build an artifact that shows their process of building a simple circuit. Then by the end of the session, students will be able to construct a simple circuit and explain how energy can be transferred from place to place. This is evidenced by constructing a simple circuit from the given materials. Again, short, sweet, and to the point. This is just 3 sentences. And it's talking about how they're hitting the standard, how they're combining digital tools and revising different things. And then we use the learning target template to be able to just kind of add a little more information. We have been using this model every time we've been writing these rationales for you guys to show it to you. You don't have to do both. But if you think doing both will make it clearer for us, we highly recommend it. Again, the point of the rationale is for us to be able to see that you understand how the standard connects to your lesson and how you implemented it. So, if you felt that first sentence that I wrote was enough, that's okay. If you feel, you know what, I just want a little more information, so I'm going to give you guys also the learning target template piece of information to help me, that works. If you feel by using the learning target template that actually explains, that's fine too. There is no one way to write these rationales. It's more just doing it in a way that Doreen and I will understand that you know how it connects.
Yeah, that's the biggest point for us if we read your rationale And it really illustrates that you understand how that standard connected to your lesson and the learning that the students are doing. And it's very clear to us,
Mhm.
you know, whatever works for you. But like in this first sentence of Parker's rationale, he's talking about the two technology tools that the students are using. So in this particular standard, it says a variety of digital tools. So he highlights that iPad, camera, and book creator to build an artifact and shows the process. And then by using the learning target template, the Bloom's template, then he just further explains and shows how this aligns to this particular activity of the lesson. So, you know, if you can convey to us in a sentence or two exactly how this lesson, this standard aligns to the activity in the lesson, that's great.
Mhm.
We just want to give you as many models as possible. And this document we share every time. So you can go back and look at how we've created our rationales as you're building yours. And this is what those open office hours are for as well. So you can bring a couple of your rationales, like for the 2 lessons that you're submitting, bring, you know, you can share that with us during those open office hours, and we can help you finesse them if they need to be. So, you know, take advantage of those if you have the time to do that.
Mhm. Definitely.
Any questions before we move on? All right, who was going to share today? Maria, you were going to share today, right? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and Maria's going to share her. You can either just tell us or share what your computer screen is up to you.
No, I have stuff I can share. Just it's not finalized. You know what I mean? So, I can share the lesson and then show you the extra, like the PowerPoint that I have that goes with the lesson. Is fine as long as I can remember how to do things. Hold on. I think it's this one. Let's hope. Okay. So, this lesson is it's based actually on a read aloud I'm doing on Mr. Popper's Penguins. And so while I was reading the book, I realized it was written in 1938 and a lot had changed. So we started, it sort of like just happened kind of organically at first, and then I sort of solidified it a little bit, that I realized that we were actually doing some of this where we were identifying and analyzing, you know, how technology has changed the way people live and work. So the main focus was probably that learning target, which is based on the standard, identify and analyze how computing technology has changed the way people live and work. And then, of course, within that is also discussing how the technology is used in society and the world. And there wasn't, Mr. Popper's Penguins being written in 1938, there were a lot of places where we've been finding that he could improve his life if it was just now in 2022. So basically connecting it to things like our needs and wants lessons, and thinking also in our social studies lesson about, you know, how communities have changed over time and looking at long ago and today. So from that lens, I went into this lesson where we would do the read aloud, but then we would also keep a chart sort of what was Mr. Popper's and the Penguins' needs and wants, and how are they fulfilling those needs and wants in 1938. And then the next part was they would identify and sort of discuss what technology they could use nowadays, basically, in order to change the way the Poppers were living. Like a big thing is the Poppers have no money, and are there ways they could capitalize on I don't know if you know the story at all, but in the Popper's Penguins, they end up doing a show, and that's how they end up making money. Was there a way they could capitalize on the Penguins' popularity? Nowadays, that's different than having to travel from place to place and do a live show. And of course, a lot of the kids were familiar with things like TikTok and Instagram and all these other ways that they could become really popular YouTubers, the Poppers. So it was kind of cute. So they do a lot of turning and talking, and this is over a course of sort of several days with the read aloud. So it's not like one set lesson where they do this. So they would sort of repeat this for each sort of each theme that we come across of the needs and wants. And I tracked that on our PowerPoint, which I'm going to try to share. Yeah, I'm bad at switching. Sorry, hold on. let me switch to the PowerPoint. And I feel like, which isn't open, that's why, it's just not even open, I guess. Sorry, guys. All right, hold on. So I feel like the good thing is that these are second graders and they're having these really deep discussions about how technology's impacted basically society and the world, and how even though they weren't around when like radios and newspapers were in existence, like they're learning all those things, like how Mr. Popper had limited resources to learn about the penguins. I'm sorry, I'm trying so hard to find how to share my PowerPoint. And for whatever reason, I can't seem to figure out where it is in my little list of things. Hold on. Let me focus on that for a second. Ah, there it is. Okay. So the PowerPoint is basically looking at questions, how would changes to technology help Mr. Popper and his penguins in 2022? And I'll give you one example of the needs. He needs to learn about, he learns about Antarctica, and he learned it by books, the radio broadcast, and newspaper. And then through the discussion, we discovered now he could use, still could use books, but he could use ebooks, he could use a search engine, the internet, social media. And they even talked about how you could contact, instead of listening to the radio broadcast, they could contact the Admiral and get information directly from that person, that expert. And then of course he can talk with other people, it takes less time. And we talked about the benefits of that. One other example, here's the one where they need money and they create this live show and Mrs. Popper plays the piano and they need to find a theater in which to perform. And of course, now they could create the videos of the penguins. They could play them anytime online through YouTube or TikTok. I think they also talked about, music online. So she wouldn't have to sit there and play in the cold, because they have to have like a sort of ice kind of theater, and she doesn't need to use the gloves anymore. And they would be able to do it over and over again. So obviously they could make money off the one task rather than having to perform it over and over again. So these are kinds of the conversations we were having surrounding those learning targets. And that's pretty much it so far. I haven't finished the book yet, so we're actually like a little bit towards the end, but not quite at the end. And the idea is at the end, they would sort of have like a summative kind of assessment where they would each be given sort of a brief little scene with some of the prompts built into it for second graders, that they would then be able to create like a new version of that part of Mr. Popper's Penguins, incorporating some of the new technology. So that's how they would sort of sum up the lesson.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, and I love how you're able to take a book that you would be reading with your learners and something that you would be doing anyways, and then use those technology standards where you wouldn't really have thought of that before, right? So it's a really authentic alignment to your curricular area, but you're using those, computer science and digital fluency standards. So I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it surprised me too. I mean, I think that these discussions have been happening naturally, but I think going back to what, was said over the summer too, which is like taking a moment to be aware of, that discussion we had, can I build that into something deeper? Or was it just something that we're like, oh, that was great talk, now let's move on. And so I just took that moment to be like, oh wait, this is going somewhere. And so I just formalized it a little bit more for, and hopefully it'll be in a little, like, having everything a little clearer in the lesson. Right now, it's still a little bit of a work in progress, but so when it's posted, maybe it's something that can apply to other books that are older books. It doesn't have to just be Mr. Popper's Penguins, but I think it's the kind of work you could do with really any book throughout the year. You could look at that lens from any of your read alouds from yeah.
Definitely.
That's it.
I could see that going with using the same type of format with other books,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah. Definitely. Very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And Debbie or Rich could not make it tonight, but they just wanted us to reiterate, if you have any questions for them, feel free to continue to connect with them. A lot of you are asking them questions about your lessons still, and rationales and things like that. So that's great. Continue to do that and work with them, and then include us if you want, or just directly email us also if you have questions. And then we have our optimistic closure. We're almost done. We're done a little early today.
I hope you guys are okay with that.
Especially because, I mean, this is, frankly, I feel this is like the easiest concept area
Yes.
because it's something we've been dealing with for a while. But so thinking about that, thinking about your familiarity with the digital literacy focus area, the concept area, are you a 1, 2, or 3? And we'll give you a minute to think about that. And then we'll tell you when to put it into the chat and we'll just do a cascade. So think about it. Think about what we talked about today, what we interacted with today, and then you can answer that. And then we'll tell you when to hit enter. All right, 1, 2, 3, go ahead and hit enter. I like the 2.5s, that's good. You know where you're at. Yeah, I definitely think this is probably one of the easiest because most of the things that we're doing, if we're using technology, we're creating some type of digital artifact, right? And they might be revising it or collaborating on it. So there's a lot of ways to integrate these standards into learning.
Mhm.
Any questions before we go? So in our follow-up email, I'll have information about the change, you know, our new portfolio process. And there will be a link to a form where we're going to have you uploading the link to your portfolio. We will have information about the March webinars and then links to the sites that we used over the summer and a link to this presentation. So anything, the things I've normally been sending you, but with the updated information. All right, if there's no questions, you're free to go.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy your week
you.
before break, everyone.